Can you measure club success? Oh yes, you can. Key indicators here are the size of the club, then how well members are progressing on their educational path. Then another area that might not be so quantitative, but you still get an indication, is the quality of the meetings, for which there are forms and checklists. And then last but not least, also the engagement and the skill level of the actual leadership team involved. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at each of those aspects. Coming to the first one, looking at the size of each club. Now, you need to have a club of a certain size in order to deliver amazing meetings. Each meeting needs a certain number of people. Now that depends on how long the individual meeting is. If it's just a 1 hour meeting, then it might be 10 to 12 people. If it's a full 1.5 hour meeting, then it's more like 15 people that you need in order to organize that meeting. Now, not everyone can attend every meeting at a Toastmasters club, so you certainly would want to have a membership base bigger than that in order to deliver fantastic meetings. It's not just about the static number of how many members we have at any given point in time. What's really of interest are the trends. It's the trends of adding new members. Are there new members coming through the door? So that's the number of new members in itself. But then also what matters is at what rate are members staying with the club, i.e. are renewing their membership. So every 6 months we renew our membership at Toastmasters, and that really is the time when it might come to light that someone who hasn't been so engaged anymore is kind of ready to leave the club. So what we really want to do as club officers in order to make the club successful is keep an eye on all the members all the way through and just really check what their engagement is and how happy they are, so that we can then see when it comes to renewals that really as many as possible of them are renewing, and we don't get any surprises that people don't want to carry on their Toastmasters journey. So we need to find out throughout the year how happy they are. So these are the numbers around membership base, new people coming on board and the actual renewals. But how happy someone is actually something that we can see quite well from the metric, the key metric for their educational progress, and that is how many educational awards they are achieving per Toastmasters year. And we would hope that to be at least one educational award, so one level in pathways. And when we look at this across the whole club, it's of course about the percentage of educational awards that are being achieved. So when I've got 20 members, have I got 20 educational awards? A further point, and that may not be an issue in your particular club, is pathways adoption. Not that I would understand it, but some people join Toastmasters without wanting to engage with the educational program that Toastmasters offers. And that is something I find quite tricky to get my head around, because it's one of the most valuable things, apart from the support, of course, from all your fellow club members, etc. But that's really, it's the program. You want to follow the program. You want to follow the pathways that really lead you through that progression as a speaker and as a leader, to also make it easier for your fellow club members to deliver evaluations for your speeches. So everyone gains if you're delivering speeches from pathways. So you would want to have ideally 100% adoption rate within the club. Then also looking at the quality of club meetings. Even though we don't have a lot of quantitative measures there, we have the opportunity to check how good a club meeting is by simply having someone externally come in and deliver an evaluation on the meeting. We call that the general evaluator, who shares how they found the meeting for 4 to 7 minutes at the end of the meeting. We can learn a lot from that. And also internally, members can deliver this general evaluation, and it's often very, very interesting what our internal members have to say about how they're finding our meetings, at least this particular one that they're evaluating. On top of that, a club has an option to take a closer look at specific aspects of their club meetings. And there's a form for that. There's a form for everything at Toastmasters. This one is called Moments of Truth. So it's like a checklist just to see how are we doing, how welcoming are we towards our guests, how well prepared are those who are taking roles, how clear are they on what they're having to do, etc. And then last but not least, the area director, that's the person who looks after 4 to 6 clubs, they will visit each club that they look after twice a year, and they will again provide feedback on that particular meeting, but they'll go beyond that because they'll spend some time with the president and with the vice president of education after the meeting and ask them some questions to find out more about how meetings are being run at this club, and they will then give their feedback on that. It's of course all about feedback at Toastmasters, but that can offer some great insights to the club leadership team when they hear back from the area director how they found their meetings. So there are a number of qualitative feedback mechanisms that give an indication of how successful the club is in delivering meetings. And then the last aspect to look at, but by no means least, is the club leadership team. And what we really want to look at there is how engaged they are, how, and that's very simple things like just making sure that the list of club officers is submitted on time. That's just an admin task, but I think it's an indication when a club gets that right or doesn't get that right. Perhaps more importantly, we want to look at every club officer getting trained. So the area director, the person who looks after 4 to 6 clubs, delivers club officer training not just once in the Toastmasters year, but twice. And ideally, all committee members, all club leaders should be attending those training sessions, both of those training sessions in the Toastmasters year, because the general perception is, even if they're very experienced Toastmasters, they always have something to take away and to learn from those club officer trainings. And also it's such a fantastic opportunity for the club leaders to network with club leaders from other clubs. And that connection with other clubs will very much determine the strength and success of the club overall. And a little indicator that we like to look at here as well is actually to see, when you look at a club committee where there are officially 7 roles, how many people are actually fulfilling those roles? Do you just have 3 people or so who are each taking on several roles, or do you actually have distinct members of the club who are different members of the club who are taking on these distinct roles? And that again is a sign of health in the club if the committee is well staffed, because it just means that if for whatever reason it gets too much for one person, someone else can take over and support them more easily when there are more people for kind of work to be split amongst. Also, if someone for whatever reason can't fulfill their role for some time, even if they're just going on holiday or if anything happens for a limited period, then it's so much easier if someone else can help out when you have a bigger pool of people there. So really, in summary, the size of the club, the strength of club membership, trends in terms of members being added and not too many members being lost at renewals, as well as the educational progress of individual members, looking at how they're progressing on their paths in the educational system, and how many members are progressing, and how many members are even taking part in the Pathways program. That's a key indicator here. In terms of the meeting quality, yes, you've got the general evaluators who are commenting on at the end of the meeting. Then you've also got moments of truth, where the club itself can take a close look at the quality of its meeting, review, analyze, and look toward improving. And then, of course, you've got the area director visit, where the area director will further give feedback. In terms of the club officers, the key thing we want to look here is the training of the club officers to take place twice a year, for as many of those officers as possible to take part in the training, and also to see whether we've got a really well-staffed committee, where the various committee roles are actually being taken on by as many people as there are roles.